Imagine you're standing in the middle of the African savanna. The sun is blazing, the grass is golden, and then the ground starts to shake. Slowly at first, then more and more, and out of the tree line she comes. 6 tons of grace, intelligence, and raw power. She stops. She looks directly at you with those deep, ancient eyes, and somehow, you feel seen. Welcome to the world of elephants. These animals are not just the biggest land creatures on Earth. They are among the most emotionally complex, socially sophisticated, and scientifically fascinating animals that have ever walked this planet. And today, we're going to cover absolutely everything: their biology, their emotions, their secret language, their role in human history, and the heartbreaking battle to keep them alive. If you've ever loved elephants, or even if you've just thought about them once in your life, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at them the same way again.
Let's start with the basics. And trust me, even the basics with elephants are mind-blowing. There are 3 living species of elephants. The African bush elephant, scientifically known as Loxodonta africana, is the largest land animal on Earth. Full stop, no contest. A large male can weigh up to 13,000 pounds, that's 6 metric tons, and stand 13 feet tall at the shoulder. If you parked 3 average-sized sedans on top of each other, you'd still be shorter than one of these guys standing on his hind legs. Then there's the African forest elephant, Loxodonta cyclotis, which was only officially recognized as a separate species in the year 2000. It's smaller, darker, with straighter downward-pointing tusks, and lives deep in the rainforests of Central Africa. These guys are incredibly elusive. We're still learning things about them. And finally, the Asian elephant, Elephas maximus, found across South and Southeast Asia. Slightly smaller than its African cousins, with smaller ears, a more rounded back, and only 1 finger on the tip of its trunk, compared to 2 on African elephants. Only some Asian male elephants grow visible tusks. In females, they're almost never visible at all. As for lifespan, elephants can live up to 60 to 70 years in the wild. That's comparable to humans. And in captivity, some have been recorded living even longer. Their aging process is actually one of the most fascinating in the animal kingdom, but we'll get to that.
Now let's talk about what makes an elephant look like an elephant, and why every single feature is a masterpiece of evolution. The trunk, that magnificent trunk. It's the most versatile limb in the entire animal kingdom, period. It contains more than 40,000 muscles. For comparison, the entire human body has just 600 muscles. It can lift logs weighing hundreds of pounds. It can pick up a single blade of grass. It can smell water from more than 12 miles away. It can deliver a blow powerful enough to knock a lion flat, or gently touch a newborn calf with the tenderness of a mother's hand. Elephants use their trunks to breathe, drink, eat, communicate, play, fight, comfort, greet, and even mourn. If an elephant loses its trunk, it almost certainly dies. That's how central it is to survival. The ears. African elephants have massive fan-shaped ears, not just for hearing, but for thermoregulation. Those big ears are laced with blood vessels, and when an elephant flaps them, blood flowing near the skin surface cools down by several degrees before returning to the body. It's a built-in air conditioner. Asian elephants, living in denser forest environments, have smaller ears because they need this cooling mechanism less. The tusks. These are actually massively elongated incisor teeth, the longest teeth of any living animal. They start growing when an elephant is around 2 years old and never stop. Some record-bearing bull elephants have had tusks stretching over 10 feet and weighing over 200 pounds each. Elephants use them to dig for water, strip bark off trees, and fight. But tragically, they're also why elephants are hunted by poachers. The feet are engineering marvels. Elephants walk on their toes with a thick, fatty cushion beneath the heel, absorbing shock like a biological shock absorber. This allows a 6-ton animal to walk almost silently. And here's something wild. Each elephant's footprint is unique, just like a human fingerprint. And let's talk about their teeth. Elephants are one of the few mammals that go through 6 sets of teeth in a lifetime, not like humans who get just 2. As each set wears down, a new one moves forward. Once the 6th and final set is gone, they can no longer chew food properly, and eventually, starvation takes over. Most wild elephants die not from predators, but from worn-out teeth.
Here's where things get truly extraordinary. Elephants are not just big, they are smart. Dangerously, profoundly, heartbreakingly smart. Let's start with brain size. An elephant's brain weighs about 11 pounds, the largest of any land animal. But size alone doesn't determine intelligence. What matters is the structure. Elephants have a remarkably developed cerebral cortex, the part responsible for complex thought. Their hippocampus, associated with memory and emotion, is larger relative to body size than almost any other mammal, including humans. They pass what's called the mirror test, one of the gold standards for self-awareness in the animal kingdom. Place a mark on an elephant's forehead, show it a mirror, and it will reach up to touch the mark on its own face, not the reflections. Only humans, great apes, dolphins, and magpies can do this. They use tools. Wild elephants have been observed plugging water holes with chewed bark to prevent evaporation. They use sticks to scratch themselves in spots they can't reach. They've even been observed using logs as step stools to reach fruit in high branches. They remember. The phrase "an elephant never forgets" is not just a saying, it's biology. Elephants can recognize over 200 individual elephants by voice, smell, and face, even after years of separation. They remember migration routes their grandmothers walked. They remember humans who were kind to them and ones who were not, decades later. They feel emotions that are remarkably like our own. They grieve. When a member of their group dies, the family will stand over the body for hours, sometimes days. They touch the bones with their trunks. They make low, rumbling sounds that researchers describe as mourning calls. Orphaned elephants who witnessed their families being killed by poachers have been documented showing signs of PTSD, nightmares, anxiety, hypervigilance. This is not metaphor. This has been verified by wildlife psychologists. They celebrate. When long-separated individuals reunite, the greeting ceremony is explosive, spinning, rumbling, trumpeting, touching each other's faces with their trunks. It is unmistakably joy. And they create art. Yes, really. Elephants in some sanctuaries have been taught to hold brushes with their trunks and paint, and their works have sold for thousands of dollars. Whether that constitutes real art is a debate for philosophers, but the dexterity and deliberate choice-making involved is remarkable.
Elephant society is one of the most beautiful and sophisticated in the natural world, and understanding it changes everything about how you see them. African elephant herds are led by the oldest female, the matriarch. This is not just a title. The matriarch is the living GPS, memory bank, and decision maker of the entire group. She knows where the water sources are during drought. She knows which lions to fear and which are just passing through. She knows the migration routes her own mother taught her. Studies show that herds with older, more experienced matriarchs have significantly higher survival rates. Wisdom is literally a life or death advantage. A typical herd consists of related females and their young, sisters, mothers, grandmothers, aunts, cousins, all moving and living together. Males, called bulls, live very differently. Once they reach adolescence, around age 12 to 15, they're gently pushed out of the family group. From then on, most bulls live semi-solitary lives,
occasionally joining bachelor groups and returning to female herds only during mating season. Then there's must. Roughly once a year, mature bulls enter a state called must, where testosterone levels spike to 60 times their normal level. A bull in must is aggressive, unpredictable, and virtually unstoppable. The temporal gland on the side of his face secretes a dark, oily liquid called temperin. Even the largest, most dominant elephant you've ever seen will walk away from a bull in must. It's that intense. Elephants also form what researchers call bond groups, clusters of related family units that travel together and recognize each other. And beyond that, there are clans, groups of bond groups that share ranges and interact peacefully. At the highest level, there is the population, all elephants in a region. It's essentially a multi-tiered society, not unlike a human community. And here's something that will absolutely floor you. Elephants show altruism toward other species. There are documented cases of elephants freeing antelope caught in snares, apparently having no evolutionary reason to do so. They just helped. Elephants are found across a remarkable range of environments, but it wasn't always this limited. African bush elephants roam the savannas, grasslands, bushland, and semi-arid deserts of sub-Saharan Africa. Countries like Kenya, Tanzania, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and South Africa host some of the largest remaining populations. African forest elephants are found in the dense tropical rainforests of the Congo Basin and West Africa, the second largest rainforest on Earth. Asian elephants are found in fragmented pockets across 13 countries, from India and Sri Lanka to Thailand, Sumatra, and Borneo. Unlike their African relatives, Asian elephants are creatures of forest and forest edges, though they adapt to a wide variety of habitats. Now, here's the painful part. Historically, elephants lived on nearly every continent. During the Pleistocene epoch, the Ice Age, elephant relatives called mammoths roamed across North America, Europe, and Siberia. Mastodons lived in North and South America. The woolly mammoth survived in some Arctic islands until as recently as 4,000 years ago. That means mammoths were still alive while the Egyptians were building the pyramids. Wrap your head around that. Today's elephants are confined to roughly 10% of their historical range. Habitat destruction, human population growth, and agricultural expansion have pushed them into smaller and smaller pockets. The daily reality for many elephant populations is a constant negotiation between ancient migratory instincts and human development blocking the way. To sustain that massive body, an elephant has one primary job every day: eat. And they are absolutely spectacular at it. Adult elephants eat between 300 and 600 pounds of food per day. That is not a typo. 300 to 600 pounds. They spend up to 18 hours a day eating grasses, leaves, bark, fruit, roots, and vegetation of all kinds. They're herbivores, but they're not picky. If it's plant matter, there's probably an elephant somewhere who's tried it. They also drink a staggering amount. An adult elephant needs between 30 and 50 gallons of water per day. During dry seasons, they'll use their tusks to dig into dry riverbeds to reach underground water, and in doing so, they create water access for hundreds of other species. That makes them what ecologists call a keystone species. Remove the elephant from the ecosystem, and the whole thing starts to collapse. Their digestive efficiency is actually quite low compared to other herbivores. They digest only about 40% of what they eat. But this inefficiency is actually an ecosystem superpower. The undigested seeds in their dung are deposited across enormous distances, making elephants the single most important seed dispersers for many African and Asian tree species.
Some trees literally cannot reproduce without elephants eating and distributing their seeds. Beyond eating, elephants spend time at waterholes, socializing, bathing, playing. Mud baths are both fun and functional. The mud protects their sensitive skin from sunburn and parasites. Young elephants play fight constantly, which develops the social skills and physical strength they'll need as adults. Sleep? Elephants need surprisingly little. In the wild, they sleep only about 2 hours per night, usually standing up. Full REM sleep, lying down, happens just once every few days. They simply can't afford to be down for long. Baby elephants. I challenge you to find anything more joyful in the natural world. But let's start at the beginning, because elephant reproduction is as extraordinary as everything else about them. Elephants have the longest pregnancy of any land animal on Earth, 22 months, nearly 2 years. That's because elephant calves are born at an extraordinarily advanced developmental stage. When a baby elephant drops into the world, and it literally drops since birth happens standing up, it already weighs around 250 pounds and stands about 3 feet tall. Within minutes of birth, it's trying to stand. Within hours, it can walk. Within days, it's following its mother and the herd. This rapid development is critical in the wild, where a helpless baby is a target for predators. But here's what makes elephant birth truly extraordinary. The whole herd participates. Female relatives, aunts, sisters, grandmothers, all gather around the birthing mother. They've been known to help the calf to its feet, clear the birth canal, and trumpet with excitement when the baby arrives. It is, by any reasonable description, a community birth. Calves are raised communally in the herd, what researchers call alloparenting. Multiple females, called allomothers, help care for the young. This frees the biological mother to eat enough to produce milk. Calves nurse for 4 to 6 years, and gives young females practice in calf rearing before they become mothers themselves. Female elephants first give birth at around 12 to 14 years of age. Given the 22-month pregnancy and 4 to 6 year nursing period, a female elephant produces 1 calf roughly every 5 years. With a lifespan of 60 to 70 years, that's a maximum of maybe 10 to 12 calves in a lifetime. Low reproductive rate is one reason elephant populations recover so slowly after heavy poaching. Here's one of my favorite things about elephants: how they talk. And I mean really talk, not just trumpeting. Elephants have one of the most complex, long-range communication systems in the entire animal kingdom. It's called infrasound. Elephants produce low-frequency sounds, rumbles, that are below the threshold of human hearing. These vibrations travel through the ground, literally through the earth itself, and can be detected by other elephants up to 6 miles away. They pick these up partly through their feet, which are extraordinarily sensitive to ground vibrations. They essentially have a whole-body seismic detection system. Scientists have cataloged dozens of distinct elephant vocalizations, each with specific meanings: contact calls, alarm calls, must rumbles, estrus calls, greeting rumbles, play sounds, and what appear to be individual names. Yes, you read that right. Researchers believe elephants use specific calls to address specific individuals, essentially calling each other by name. Their sense of smell is the most powerful of any land animal ever studied. An elephant has about 2,000 unique olfactory receptor genes, more than 5 times as many as a human, and about twice as many as a bloodhound. They can smell water from over 12 miles away. They can smell a specific individual elephant, what mood that elephant is in, whether a female is in estrus, and whether a human they're approaching has carried a weapon recently. They can smell the difference between human ethnic groups that historically hunted them and those that didn't, and they react accordingly. Touch is also central to elephant life. They greet by touching faces and reaching their trunks into each other's mouths, a gesture of trust. Mothers comfort distressed calves by touching them gently. Elephants who are grieving will touch the bones of the deceased, running their trunk over the skull. Researchers describe it as reverence. Elephants are not just creatures of the natural world. They've been central to human civilization, mythology, and history for thousands of years. In Hindu tradition, the elephant-headed deity Ganesha is one of the most worshipped figures in all of religion. He is the remover of obstacles, the patron of arts and sciences, the god of beginnings. Virtually every Hindu prayer begins with his name. The elephant form was chosen specifically because of the qualities the animal represents: wisdom, power, patience, and memory. In ancient warfare, war elephants changed the course of history. The Carthaginian general Hannibal famously crossed the Alps with war elephants in 218 BC to attack Rome. In ancient India, Persian armies, and Hellenistic kingdoms, war elephants were essentially the tanks of the ancient world, unstoppable, terrifying, and decisive. Alexander the Great faced war elephants at the Battle of the Hydaspes in 326 BC, and even his veteran Macedonian troops were rattled. In Thai culture, white elephants, actually a very pale genetic variant, were considered so sacred that only the king could own one. If the king gave you a white elephant, it was both an honor and a subtle punishment. You had to maintain the sacred animal at tremendous expense without being able to put it to work. The phrase white elephant, meaning a burdensome, costly gift, comes directly from this tradition. In African societies, elephants have deeply complex relationships with elephants, from the Maasai, who view elephants as sacred weather predictors, to the Zulu, who tell stories of elephants as transformed human ancestors. Across the continent, elephants appear in rock art, oral traditions, and sacred practices stretching back tens of thousands of years. In Western popular culture, you can't talk about elephants without mentioning Dumbo, Babar, and Elmer, fictional elephants that shaped entire generations' first emotional connection to the species. Barnum's famous Jumbo was the first elephant most Americans ever saw, and the word jumbo, meaning enormous, comes directly from his name.
A century ago, there were an estimated 10 million elephants in Africa. Today, there are approximately 415,000. That is a 96% decline in 100 years. Let that number land. 96% gone. Asian elephants are in even worse shape. Fewer than 40,000 remain in the wild. The IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, classifies African forest elephants as critically endangered, African savanna elephants as vulnerable, and Asian elephants as endangered. All three species are in crisis. The primary driver historically was the ivory trade. Between 1970 and 1990, an estimated 700,000 elephants were slaughtered for their tusks. The 1989 international ban on commercial ivory trade slowed the killing dramatically, but never stopped it. In the 2000s and 2010s, a new poaching crisis emerged, driven by demand from illegal markets in Asia, particularly China, where carved ivory fetched extraordinary prices. Between 2007 and 2014, an estimated 30% of Africa's elephant population was killed. Today, poaching remains a serious threat, though international pressure and domestic ivory bans, China banned domestic ivory trade in 2017, have helped. But the battle is far from won. Organized criminal networks still move ivory across borders. The second great threat is habitat loss. Human population growth, agricultural expansion, deforestation, and infrastructure development are shrinking elephant habitat at extraordinary speed.
As natural corridors disappear, elephant herds become isolated, inbred, and vulnerable. And as elephants are forced into smaller spaces close to human settlements, human-elephant conflict increases. Elephants raiding crops, destroying fences, occasionally killing people, and people retaliating. It is a tragedy without easy villains. Climate change adds another layer, altering rainfall patterns, drying up watering holes, and changing the distribution of vegetation. Elephants are already adapting their migration routes in response to changes that are accelerating faster than evolutionary biology can keep up with. The good news, and there is some, is that where elephants are protected, populations recover. Kenya's Amboseli ecosystem has seen real growth. Botswana, which has the world's largest elephant population, has made conservation a national priority. Anti-poaching ranger programs, community-based conservation models that give local people economic incentives to protect elephants rather than fight them, and technology like GPS tracking and drone surveillance are all making a real difference.
Let's take a breath and end on wonder, because elephants are full of it. Elephants are one of the very few animals that recognize themselves in a mirror, placing them in elite cognitive company alongside great apes, dolphins, and humans. They can swim remarkably well. Elephants have been tracked swimming for up to 30 miles across open water to reach islands. They use their trunk as a natural snorkel, holding it above the surface while the rest of their body is fully submerged. In the Andaman Sea, entire populations of sea elephants regularly swim between islands in search of food. Elephants don't really like peanuts. The myth that circus elephants love peanuts is just that, a myth. In the wild, peanuts are not part of their diet. Given a choice, most elephants would pick fruit every single time. They can purr, not like a cat, but they produce a low rumble when content that functions emotionally and physiologically similarly to feline purring. Researchers describe it as a contentment sound. The oldest known elephant in the wild was a matriarch in Amboseli, Kenya, known as Echo. She was estimated to be 65 years old when she died in 2009, and she was studied by researchers for over 35 years. Her biography, her leadership decisions, and the fate of her family have been documented in extraordinary detail by Cynthia Moss of the Amboseli Elephant Research Project, one of the longest-running animal research programs in history. And finally, and I think this is the most beautiful fact of all, elephants have been documented walking to the homes of humans who were kind to them years after the kind act occurred. Lawrence Anthony, a conservationist known as the Elephant Whisperer, spent years rehabilitating wild elephants in South Africa. When he died in 2012, a herd of 31 elephants who hadn't visited his home in over a year walked 12 hours through the bush to gather outside his house and stood there for 2 days. No one called them, they just knew.
Elephants are not just the biggest animals on land. They are not just impressive. They are wise. They grieve. They love. They remember. They protect. They create. They communicate across miles of earth. They shape the very ecosystems they walk through. They've been sacred to humans for thousands of years, and they deserve that reverence now more than ever. The story of elephants is not yet written to its conclusion. Populations that were on the edge of collapse have come back. Species that seemed doomed have been pulled from the brink by the right protections, the right funding, and the right people who refuse to give up. But that story doesn't write itself, and it doesn't get a happy ending unless we choose to give it one. So here's what you can do right now. Subscribe, because we'll be covering more incredible animals just like this in depth every week. Hit the like button if this video taught you something new about these extraordinary creatures, and share it. Share it with someone you know who loves animals, who cares about the natural world, or who just needs to be reminded how incredible this planet is.